Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Branding Bits. I'm a brand consultant in Taiwan, and I'm your host. Today, I'd like to discuss personal branding. Together, we will analyze the personal branding war between Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin of Russia, and determine who is currently winning that battle. If you like this kind of content, please remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. You know the drill. Last month, Elon Musk raised eyebrows, as only he knows how, by challenging Putin to a fight. At stake, the outcome of the war in Ukraine. Now, although we all know that this was yet another PR stunt by the Tesla and SpaceX visionary, I can't help but think that everything about Putin's background, body language, and behavior suggests that the Russian would probably have no trouble flooring the self-described space nerd and richest man on the planet with a well-placed karate kick. Putin is an ex-KGB agent, remember? With psychological and combat training, and at the age of 69, he would probably compete with most leaders in the world today. At least, that is the image that his regime has worked to promote over the years by carefully managing his personal brand image. But now that Putin has become embroiled in a bloody conflict with Ukraine, a new leader has emerged and is set to seriously challenge the Russians' grip on the title of the baddest man on the planet. President Zelensky has entered the ring and has quickly become a serious challenger to that title. So today, I would like to look at how Zelensky and Putin match up against each other in terms of personal branding, and I will share my thoughts as to why the Ukrainian leader is my tip for the undisputed champion of the world. When it comes to personal branding, I would like to look at two key elements. First, the subject's personal image. Second, the subject's voice.
Round 1, fight!
Let's consider together the brand image. And you will notice two very different styles, almost polar opposites. When it comes to Vladimir Putin, everything about the man commands power through distance. I am sure you can remember the well-reported meeting between President Macron and the Russian leader. Much was said about the size of the unusually or comically long table used during the so-called face-to-face conversation. Seating political opponents or even one's own cabinet members 20 feet away is, in my view, less to do with social distancing than mere power play. Compare that with President Zelensky's recent interviews and the opposite is portrayed. Reporters are seen sitting opposite a small table or even sat on the stairs right next to the president. And of course, I would admit that some of the interviews have recently been recorded in makeshift secret locations in Ukraine, where space may have been at a premium. Nevertheless, I'd argue that power can be exerted through control, such as the environment, tables, chairs, etc. And on the other hand, it can also be projected through self-confidence and removing those barriers between the person in question and the people around. And this shows self-belief and trust in one's own ability. Have you heard of the Napoleonic complex? If you haven't, this term came from Napoleon's unusually short height. An analysis of world leaders in politics, business, and other fields show that leadership correlates with height, and leaders are generally either taller than the national average or shorter. Now, although both Putin and Zelensky are said to measure 170 in height, only one of them is reputed to wear abnormally high heels. I don't think it takes a genius to guess who, right? Are we talking about a Napoleonic complex here as well? I would argue that both leaders are on paper the same height. However, Zelensky is rarely filmed from a distance standing up. His up-close and personal meetings mean that he's often filmed waist up or he is sitting down. And this means that film crews and people he meets mainly get to focus on his face and upper body. They're invited to be up close and personal. Camera footage aimed at showing 20-feet tables and 3-inch shoes do little to bring the camera up close and actually make the character in the footage look proportionally smaller. On a side note, this is actually true of brands as well. Notice how many logos have become larger, as if the camera lens has zoomed in on the logo rather than zooming out on the whole frame. Brands are realizing that in order to reflect power and confidence, they should be drawing the audience closer, not pushing them further away. I would therefore give the first round to President Zelensky.
Round 2. Fight.
Now, let's move on to the language, and I'd like to specifically start with the tone that both protagonists use when talking to an audience. Let's take a listen.
Как если бы кто-то отдал душу свою.
Ніхто точно не знає, принаймні був шанс. Північний потік-2 ви заблокували.
Again, both men have quite significantly different tones. Both leaders speak with authority without question. And both men do not need to drown us out with words. Culturally speaking, both Russians and Ukrainians are fairly pragmatic speakers, and they'll generally get their points across in few words. Russians are also known for speaking softly and to the point, and Putin does this at great effect during interviews. But notice how President Zelensky's voice is naturally a lot deeper than his counterpart.
Ніхто точно не знає, принаймні був шанс.
Research shows that men and women tend to perceive men with deeper voices as more alpha. Amusingly, a 2020 study published in Scientific Reports reveals that men with lower-pitched voices were viewed as more likely to win a fistfight. This allegation does not come from me, trust me.
Especially with my awful beta male high-pitched vocal cords.
In fact, the study showed that more resonant voices were more likely for people with higher testosterone levels and taller, larger bodies. Now, President Zelensky is by no means a giant or a beast, but his voice projects power, and his acting background probably helps achieve such results as well. Putin, on the other hand, although I would say he has an alpha male voice too, is more softly spoken, and his voice does not project fear and physical power as much as his Ukrainian opponent. However, I would venture to say that his autocratic status probably does not warrant such baritone vibes. His whispers are probably just as intimidating. On a side note, did you know that my own country's past Prime Minister, Lady Thatcher, took lessons on how to deepen her voice when speaking to the nation and her colleagues? Check out her voice pitch before 1979 and post 1979 when she became the First Lady.
But I'm very much aware of the responsibilities.
The greatest divisions this nation has ever seen.
The change is very obvious. Brands as well should heed the results of this study and realize that slogans and jingles that are sometimes noisy, long-winded and high-pitched may not command attention as much as short, deep and confident messaging. Alpha brands like BMW are a good example of this. So, who wins this round? I would say both. A deep voice is certainly powerful, and lower bass frequencies carry further than higher frequencies. They therefore command attention in the room. However, being soft-spoken and frugal with words like Putin is, can also project confidence and hidden strength. It is often said that a dog's bark is louder than its bite, so beware of the dog that doesn't bark. And that is why the world is weary of Putin's quiet threats.
Final round. Fight.
A lot more can be said about both leaders and their own brand image. Zelensky wears camo t-shirts and often sports stubble. He is the man of the people. He is in the trenches with his people, and his appearance is uncomplicated and somewhat honest. Putin wears simple suits and unicolor ties. He looks more like a bureaucratic leader. Even his outdoor apparel when speaking to the crowds recently made him look like a school kid in the playground whose mum is worried that he will catch a cold. Zelensky has my bonus point for this one. To conclude, the fight between Putin and Zelensky is not one to make light of. This is a true tragedy that we're witnessing, and I do believe that we are told to forego any type of violence towards our fellow human beings, even in word and thought. But for the point of this video, my personal view is that the leader of Ukraine has certainly won the branding war. Perhaps the Zelensky brand has been built out of necessity and survival. And when a brand is back to the wall, facing adversity, it draws strength from its core values. It ditches the frivolous for authenticity, and it draws power from what it believes in at its core. Thank you for watching, and God bless.